Vandenburgh Show.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to My 4, a Wednesday after, a lot of rain last night, a lot of bad weather around the country, but hopefully we'll have a good program for you today. Steve Starbella will be here later. Steve's a real estate guy with one of the local firms. I asked him to come in today because, to me anyway, there's a strange story out there about real estate right now, and that is the lack of it. There's a lot of people out there looking for the right home, but there aren't enough homes for sale around here. We'll talk to Steve about that later. We started here though with Vince Riggi, our old friend from the Schenectady City Council, and I'll tell you, our timeliness couldn't be better because I'm so confused now. I'm not quite sure what's going on, so we'll let Vince explain to us, in his opinion, what it is. Schenectady, as you know, from listening to Vince all these years, well, a couple of years we've been here, is a financial disaster, chaos. Moody's downgraded them, not one grade, but two.
Yep.
The state comptroller came in and said by 2016 there'll be $13 million in the hole. Last year at this time we were talking about how there was a $5 million structural deficit.
Yep, for 11, yep.
They had $75,000, so nothing's good. Lo and behold, I pick up the paper this week and they're $3.75 million to the good. A plurality all of a sudden. Everything is spectacular. And I'm totally confused. And I'm not sure Vince Riggi can really explain it, but we're gonna let him do the best job he can. First of all, how are you?
Good, I'm doing okay, Paul.
Secondly, do you have any idea yet who's right about all this?
Well, yes, I do. And I've been conferring with my budget analyst, Jason Cuthbert, about this. And Jason's the guy, so he's still a budget analyst. And yes, those figures show true, but it's how did we get to those figures? One big part of this is we transferred about $4.5 million out of water and sewer fund into the general fund.
Okay, hold on. So $4.5 million was transferred from one place to another.
Yes.
Does that does that cover up $1 million hole and give you a $3 million
Well, it can,
surplus?
and there's more to it.
Okay,
there's more to it than that.
Good.
There was also a $2.6 million loan payback from the water and sewer fund into the general fund. Supposedly this loan was taken in 2004. They paid it back to us.
Okay.
So now we're up to over $7 million, a little over $7 million from the water and sewer fund. The thing with the water and sewer fund, which people have to understand, is those are separate fees that are paid by the taxpayer to the city. It's supposed to be only for water and sewer projects, for infrastructure. The only time money's supposed to go into the general fund is for support services that the city could provide. Let's say Carl Olson, our Commissioner of General Services, spends half his time with water and sewer, which I don't think he does. He makes $110,000 a year around, so that's $55,000. Payroll department, maybe making out the payroll checks. How can it justify $2.5 million coming out of water and $2 million coming out of sewer every year? And that's gone up every year. The figures have gone up every year from that. That's a biggie. There's another piece in this. If we paid our retirement plan by December 15th of 2012, we would have saved about 1%. Instead, it looks like we paid it in February of 13. So by deferring that 90 days, we get 1%. That comes out to roughly $70,000. That's a lot of money, but the 1.9 stood in the 2012 budget.
Okay.
So there's another little piece of those figures that show up and how that figure comes up with the grand total of the surplus.
That was 1.9 million?
1.9 million.
Okay, so in order to make the budget numbers look good, they withheld the 1.9 million, then paid a 1% penalty on top of that?
Yeah, well, it actually isn't a penalty. You would get a bonus if you paid it early. It's actually due February 1st, but if you pay it 6 weeks early, you can save 1%. If we had all this surplus of money, why the heck didn't we pay it? That's my question.
They want to hold the money out to get into the new calendar year?
Yes, yes. So, again, yes, the figures will say what they are. It looks like we have a surplus, but it's how did we get to that surplus? That's the troubling part.
All right. Also, add into this, if you can, whatever you know, about these, all of a sudden people start running to City Hall and paying their taxes.
Yep.
there was pressure put on property owners to pay
Yes,
their taxes.
yes.
And Gary told me last week a lot of them did.
And they did, and I give all the kudos to the mayor for that, doing that. It's a one-shot revenue, which is great, because they owed 3, 4, 5, 6 years in taxes, but that did bring in, I think, about $2.8 million. So it brought in a lot of money. So the mayor did a good job with that.
All right. Gary also pointed out last week, and it looks like his numbers were right, that he put the word out to the fire and police to get to come in under budget, and they did. That true?
Part of it is. The fire department did. The police actually didn't. The police were actually $28,000 over budget. Not much.
No,
$28,000.
$28,000 is not bad.
No, it's very good.
Right.
I mean, past years how much. But again, that happened sometime in 2012. $200,000 was plugged into the budget. Was plugged into that budget.
Okay.
That was transferred in from the general fund.
Okay.
So I think they saw they might have been running behind a little bit, so added 200,000, and so you add that in there. So correctly, they didn't come in under budget. The fire department did.
Okay, the fire department did.
By 136,000.
Okay, so all in all, I wake up, I read the newspaper, and I see that Schenectady is to the good $3.7 million. Is that true or not true?
Well, you could say it's true, but it actually isn't true because it's where the money came from.
Right.
If you want to call this a surplus, Paul, I think it's like if I wanted to do a project on my house and I'm going to cash in my son's college fund to do it. Well, I'm taking money. I shouldn't be touching this money. The other thing is, from the best of my knowledge, transfers without justification are over. Asked this question when Marvin was doing our audits. He wanted to know, since there's no justification, what if a taxpayer sues the city over this?
Right.
And they could.
Right.
Because that's a different taxing structure.
Sure.
The fees are different than the general fund.
Right.
Not only that, they're not exemptable. There's no exemptions at all. Senior or veterans exempt. No exemptions. So, is the money being used on the infrastructure? Another interesting part is we went to band sale for about $7 million for water and sewer projects for next year.
Okay.
Interesting.
Yeah, let me hold you there. That's
Okay.
it. That is interesting. Vince Riggi's here. Steve Starbella later. You're watching us on I-4. Stay with us. We're back. Vince Riggi's here from Schenectady. Let's pick up on the band. I know this is dry to a lot of people.
Yeah,
okay?
it is.
But you know what? As I said yesterday on the air and this morning, all I'm told is that everybody's, they need.
Yeah.
And then I get these election year budgets at the end where all of a sudden we've got $3.7 million. Vince, you really wonder.
There's 3 council seats up this year, too.
Oh, I know,
Paul.
it's an election year.
Yeah, it is an election year. I hate to say, I don't want to throw water. I mean, we had enough water last night to throw water on anybody's parade, but all I think people want, and what I want, is to be told the truth.
Yeah, right.
That's exactly it. That's what people want to see.
Right, that's
on
it.
my Facebook page, more people are asking this question, as you're asking, as I'm asking, how can this be?
Right.
When I prodded our finance director Monday night, I was the only person to ask a question. She presented the audit. Mr. Cusack, who did the audit, he just sat in the peanut gallery. He didn't say a word. So Deborah G. Genova presented the audit.
Right, now she's the finance
She's our
woman
new
now,
finance.
Right? She's the $100,000 finance
Yes,
woman.
yes. And
Which, by the way, I can't get past that. Schenectady, New York, the finance person's got to make $100,000.
yeah.
Really?
96, I think.
I mean,
Just
it's a $60,000 job at best.
yeah.
I'm sorry, that's
Yeah.
what it is.
I know.
$100,000.
Yeah, it's a nice paying
And her
job.
predecessor goes across the street and
for
gets
more.
110.
Yeah, she's making more.
I mean,
Yeah, only in Schenectady, huh?
oh God,
Only in
you
Schenectady.
can't make it up. But I'm sorry. Go ahead.
But that's okay. I asked her straightforward. I said, Ms. DeGenova, do we have documentation to justify these transfers out of the water and sewer fund into the general fund? And she kind of looked at me like she didn't understand, so I asked her again, and then she said, well, it's all one city. And I said, wait a minute. I says, it's not when it comes to that.
Right,
it's not
right.
all one city.
Oh, no,
we
no,
can't say it's all going to go in one pot and we're going to take from it as needed. So basically what I believe has been happening is when you have a hole, we'll take the money out of that water and sewer and we're going to plug that gap in the general fund with
Right,
it.
right.
But I want to see, and I asked her, and she said if she has it, she will get it to me, because she said I wasn't here then. In
Well,
all
what are
fairness,
you
she wasn't.
asking for? What are you're looking for documentation to justify the
To justify
transfers?
those transfers.
Okay, in other
what
words,
was it used for? The support services it was used for.
Okay, in other words, somebody had to write up, had to do something
Right.
to come to the city hall and
Right.
say, we need to transfer this money.
Right. And going back a few years, when this memo from 1999 first came into my possession, it was around 2005 or so, Pat Zollinger and myself, we foiled for that documentation to see it. And the letter we got back from Corp Counsel at the time was, we can't manufacture documentation.
Well, that was Jasinski's time, right? Yeah.
And Brian Stratton just took over then.
Oh,
but
he had just
yeah, but
taken
that
over.
1999 memo was from when Al Jasinski was mayor.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Well, he was
Yes.
pretty good about sharing
Yes.
information.
Yes.
I
But
mean, they ran him down.
The
but
foil
he's
that
all
we were
right.
turned down was when Brian Stratton was mayor.
Okay.
It was about 2005.
Was Gary was there the other night, right?
Yes.
Did he answer any questions about these
No,
transfers?
he didn't say a word. He did not say a word. I was the only person on the council to ask any questions of her. And I also asked about the retirement payment. Was the retirement payment made in December?
This is this is the 1.9 million?
1.9 million.
Okay.
And she said yes. And then I asked again. Basically, I said, are you sure it was paid then? Yeah, and then she kind of backtracked. She said it was paid in a timely fashion, is what she wound up saying.
Okay.
But looking at the document that I asked for, which is a simplified version, line by line of what was in that 2012, but it was not paid.
It wasn't.
It was not paid in 2012.
It was paid
had to
this
be-
year.
Yes, in February of 13.
Okay, but
So,
it cost you 70 grand.
$70,000
to hold up the
That's a
payment.
lot of money. That's
money.
that's
That's
you know
real money.
that's 3/4 of her salary.
Right.
Right.
That's real money.
Yes.
Also, there was a question about money that the city owed that they had to pay last year to the county.
Yes.
Has that been dealt with?
We paid the county last year for 2011. It was about $1.4 million. Now the county is suing us.
Right.
They're suing us for 2012 payment, which I look at the documentation and it's $1.6 million. So what it's telling me is it went from 1.4 in 11 to 1.6 in 12. That means more people are defaulting too. That's the other interesting part.
right.
200,000 more that we owe them.
Right.
Now, the mayor is saying we have the money now to pay the county.
Okay.
I think that's part of the subterfuge about us having this surplus. I think the deal is made with the county. You know, we have to okay it as a council, but I could see us knuckling under on this one to pay them. I say let them sue, and I said that
Right.
in executive session. Let them sue us for the money.
Right, but
Because
Gary's
the
not going to let that happen.
No, we're going to pay them, and I
Oh,
think that's where this surplus is coming from.
Right, okay. Wow.
And we have the schools yet to pay. We owe them $8 million.
Well, tell me about that. How long has that debt been lying around?
That's been, I think we can hold them up for 2 years, and I think we're right to the cusp now. We're supposed to make a payment, whether a check's been written or not for 13, I'm sorry, for 12, for 13, you know, this year. I'm not sure if it has. We have promised to pay them, I think, half of that.
All right, what's
I
that
believe
money
half of
all
that.
about?
That's, again, uncollected tax, people that don't pay their taxes.
Right.
We make the school district whole and the county whole. It's crazy.
I know,
but that's the way
insane.
it is.
That's
Yes,
not the
it is.
city's fault. That's
Yes,
been around
no,
for a long time,
It has
right?
been. Because that goes back to when the city was the county seat.
Right.
Which, you know, now the suburbs have grown
Right.
much more than the
I
city.
got that. That's a problem. That's not
Yeah.
the city's fault.
And it's
But
not the city's
these
fault.
shenanigans, though, are, you know, this is part of what I'm upset about. The idea that, you know, on one hand, you're in huge. I mean, Moody's does not come into a city and downgrade them two spots. I want
Yeah,
two
no,
spots.
2 spots down.
And then 6 months later, all of a sudden, they find $3.7 million.
Yeah, it's kind of ironic, you know, and I think everybody had the same thing, their mouths dropped open. And the mayor did give me a heads up, I don't know, maybe a couple months ago.
Yeah.
It looks like we're going to have a surplus, he said, you know, and I kind of looked at him, I said, well,
Yeah.
that's good news. You
Yeah.
know, what do you say, it's bad news? But I'm wondering how, but looking at the spreadsheets, you can get an idea how it happened. So is it legitimate? I don't want to say it is, because that money, again, I'll keep going to that water and sewer fund. That's a lot of money being drawn out of
Yeah.
there every year.
Who's the responsible person at the water? Who says at their water and sewer department, okay, we're going to sign off on this and send it over?
I believe it has to be the General Services, the Commissioner of General Services, Carl Olson.
Okay.
I'm planning on speaking to Carl about
You
this
let
because
this
this
go.
money's coming out of his fund.
Right. Okay, let me hold you there.
Sure.
Wow, Vince Riggi's here. More with him about Schenectady. Steve Starbella later. You're watching us on My 4. Stay with us.